like the whole like a lot of students will stress out during it, and I think when it comes to funding, they should like go into the classrooms and evaluate the whole situation more so, because you're gonna get a better view of how the students work and how the teachers are teaching when you're actually in the classroom and evaluating them. And like I know that would be like a lot of like extra work, but I feel like it would give more of an accurate showing, like an accurate representation of like what really goes on behind the scenes. And I think it would really show like a school's like personality in a way, because when you think about it, like you could have a really smart class or something, but like they could be like really snobby kids or something like that. And like I wouldn't want to give funding to like kids that are like already spoiled at home and like have rich families or something like that. Like I'd rather, you know, give it to someone who is like trying their best and working really hard, but when you look at a test, like you don't get that from them. But if you were to actually see them in a classroom, then you would get that from them, and you would want to be willing to give them the money.
So it kind of sounds like you, like the external factors you think like play into more.
Yeah.
So it tends to be that the ones who score higher obviously get more funding, and the ones that score lower, who kind of in reality need the funding, aren't getting it just because their scores aren't as high, which in reality it should be switched just to like increase those scores. That's what they're trying to do, is increase the scores to like nationwide to have consistency across the board.
Yeah. And when they're basing it like off these scores, then it affects like what the parents think about that school, and so then, you know, they're not getting as many like kids that they could be getting, because parents are like, oh, they scored this average on their ICE test. That's awful. Like I don't want to send my kid here. But I mean, it could have just been like maybe not the greatest neighborhood, so like they just like had like certain kids that were focused or something like that. But like it shouldn't like that shouldn't have to make up a parent's mind. Like they could have great teachers that are like doing their best, just maybe the kids themselves aren't working so hard. But you know.
Yeah. So you think like designing a test that would like adapt to a certain school, like with an external factor that really like inhibited the scores, perhaps just like changing it, or I know a big debate is like students with disabilities who are still taking the test. Do you think that there should be a totally different form, or do you think that there should be someone who takes the test maybe with them, or like what kind of things do you think could be done?
Yeah, when it comes to kids with disabilities, I definitely think like it should be like changed in a way. Like I mean, like I'm not trying to like outcast them completely, but like have them have their own little like I-step or whatever, and then have like the kids that, you know, don't need extra help have their own little thing. Like I feel like if they were like separated a little more, it gives like more of an accuracy on how the kids like do in that class or in that school, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So like, do you think it'd be fair to like switch it up, and then it would like, therefore the scores would be more positive, like they'd just be more accurate, like that?
Yeah, just like depending on like how severe maybe their problems are, more so like if they're like specifically in a special ed versus if they're just a kid in a normal classroom that just may have some behavioral issues or mental issues or something like that, but can still perform in a classroom. Like I think they should be with them. But if they're more severe that they have to be in a special ed classroom, then they should have a test that's adjusts more to their style.
So like teachers a lot recently, with like more like tests being implemented, have shown a lot of frustration with their curriculums kind of being smashed down. You know, they were teaching one way and have to completely change their style of teaching and just go by what the standards are for the test. So like, do you think that there would be a way to kind of implement both? That like the teachers could still teach on their own curriculum while still following, but not have as strict of guidelines?
Yeah, like, I mean, like, I kind of like get why, you know, everyone has to be on the same curriculum, because if teachers like stuck with their own thing, then eventually that kid's gonna grow up and make it into middle or high school, and they're just gonna be completely off, and they might not understand what's going on. So like, I know it is frustrating, and I know it's something I'm gonna have to look forward to. Well, I'm not sure if look forward to is the right thing to say, but I know that's something I have to like prepare for, because I mean, just like with everything else in our society, things change and advance all the time, and you don't always just stick with the regular. So I don't know, like, I understand that it's frustrating, but I feel like, you know, it's going to be hard for a child to adjust if they learn one way and then all of a sudden they have to go learn a different way. Like,
another thing with that is that like different states have different standards. So like, do you think a more uniform policy should be made, or like, because I know Illinois kind of is like on the same page as New York with things, but then there's only like a few states following this order, then all these other states are in different curriculums, and then do you think that has like an effect of when kids get to college because they've taken like all these things that lead up to that, or do you think that all the states should just create one uniform policy?
Yeah, I think it would definitely be a lot easier if we were just like the same nationwide, like sort of
consistent
like,
effort.
Yeah, I feel like that just like would make things a whole lot easier. And then, you know, like, you know, because sometimes, you know, stuff happens in a child's life, and like their family like has to move from one state to another, and so like even that child can't do anything to change it. Like, they have to go to another state, they have to adjust to the curriculum, but they shouldn't have to. Like, if we were just all on the same thing, then it wouldn't be so much of an issue. It would put less stress on the child. Like, oh my gosh, I learned one way, now I have to learn something else. Like, or I may not be able, like, I might have to held back a grade or something because the school might just be like smarter or something.
Yeah, like not testing.
Yeah, if we were like all the same, it'd be so much easier.
So I know not really applicable. How do you, like, for you personally, but like, how do you think like the parents react to these testings? Like, is it stressful on the parent as well, or like?
I think it all depends, like, on the parent themselves, because like my parents, that was never like, they really didn't care so much about that kind of stuff. Like, as long as I was like doing well in school altogether, they didn't really care too much about how I was doing, like, on the, like, they never like asked me or anything how I thought it went, or like, and I mean, that was fine with me because I had the same attitude. Like, I didn't really care so much because they didn't care so much, so it was just kind of like an whatever sort of deal. So I think it just depends on the parent, because like, I know some parents would be like, you better do this well, you better get this score or something like that, and so like that puts like stress on the child a little bit. So it just definitely depends on the parent, because everyone's different.
Okay, so like overall, do you think like the participation standardized testing like should be continued, or do you think there's a way to test the students like learning and like just like their aptitude type stuff with like aptitude style testing, or do you just think wipe it out completely?
Well, like, I mean, like, I understand, like, there needs to be, like, some way to see how the school is doing and everything like that, but, like, if they can, like, figure out, like, a way to, like, make it more discreet, like, not make it such, like, a big deal, like, I step in a few weeks, we have to get you prepared, I have to learn you, I have to teach you all these different things. If they, like, just made it, like, just, if it wasn't, like, such a big deal, and they made it just kind of more discreet, like, just a typical, oh, here's a test that you're going to take, you take the test, and they were like, oh, so remember that test that you took a couple weeks ago? Well, this is what it really was, or something like that. Like, then it wouldn't stress the kids out so much, like, they just, and then, like, or the parents, too, because some stress out about that. Like, they just wouldn't, like, freak out so much, and then if the kids don't know, like, what is really going on, then they're going to show their true colors when taking the test or whatever.
Oh, definitely.
So
do you think it would help, like, accuracy and, like, stress levels if there were, like, shorter, smaller tests that happen multiple times throughout the year, as opposed to, like, it's typically kind of, like, one big one, like, I guess each semester there's, like, one bigger one, or sometimes, like, I know in Illinois when I was younger, it was just one huge one in the spring, like, to test at the end of the year. So you think having, like, or more of them with, like, that were less stressed, do you think that would help?
Yeah, I think it would, and it would be, like, it would show not only how a school does overall, but it would show how the school like grows overall. If they did it like throughout the year and just did it like in separate little things like that, like it would show the school's growth throughout the year. And I think that kind of like would mean something to me. Just be like, oh wow, this school isn't only good, but they can get better.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Okay. So overall, you're for the test, but maybe try to find a little better method and keep on a consistent path that helps
Yes.
the students.
Yes,
Alright.
exactly.
Sounds good.